Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Bulls reclaim more lost ground. Sensex gains over 600 points. Nifty moves back above 23,000. Mid-caps outperform with the index gaining over 2%. Maruti Suzuki beats estimates in Q3. Revenue up 16%. Profits rise 13%. Margins contract due to discounts even as it remains ahead of peers like Hyundai India. ITC Hotels lists at a discount of nearly 31% from its implied share price after the demerger. The listing price is in line with analyst estimates. The stock hits 5% lower circuit. Analysts estimate a passive outflow of over $165 million as the stock moves out of the benchmark Nifty and Sensex. CNBC-TV18 News break confirmed. Cabinet approves a 16,300 crore rupee mission to develop 24 critical minerals over the next 6 years. Cabinet also clears the ethanol price hike leading to a rally in sugar stocks. After Rashtra Ispat Nigam, government may adopt a strategy to revive select PSUs that are financially weak. Sources say government is not in favor of banks taking haircuts. Fund infusion, mergers and consolidation are some of the options on the table. Many people feared dead and several injured after a stampede at the Mahakumbh in Prayagraj in the early hours this morning. President Murmu and Prime Minister Modi expressed condolences. Opposition accuses the UP government of mismanagement. The state is yet to provide details on casualties. The Trump administration gives federal workers time till February 6 to make a choice: return to office full-time or resign and get paid till September. This comes days after Trump's executive order on a return-to-office mandate. The U.S. government also made it clear that even employees who choose to stay on may eventually bear the brunt of downsizing. After a prolonged decline due to the pandemic, students are making a modest recovery on learning outcomes, according to the annual Status of Education report. But a majority of children in Class 3 and 5 are still unable to read a Class 2 level text or solve simple math problems. Many people are feared dead and several have been injured after a stampede at the Mahakumbh in Prayagraj early this morning. President Murmu and Prime Minister Modi have expressed their condolences to the victims' families. The state is yet to provide details on the casualties. In fact, the UP police maintains that there was no stampede and it was only a matter of overcrowding. Eyewitness accounts described surging crowd on the banks of the Ganga around 2 a.m. in the morning to take a holy dip. Crowds converged at the Sangam, the place where the Ganga and the Yamuna rivers meet. The witnesses described chaotic scenes where people fell down to the floor as crowds surged in multiple directions. The opposition has accused the UP government of mismanagement, offering condolences to those affected. Rahul Gandhi said mismanagement and a special focus on VIP movement instead of common devotees are responsible for this tragic incident. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge also blamed VIP movement and half-baked arrangements. Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav urged the state government to help those affected. The Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, has said that the situation is under control.
पूरा प्रशासन मौके पे वहाँ मौजूद है। रात्रि को 1 से 2 बजे के बीच में अखाड़ा मार्ग पर, जहाँ पे अखाड़ों के अमृत स्नान के दृश्य से बैरिकेड्स भी किए गए थे, तो बैरिकेड्स को फांद करके आने में कुछ श्रद्धालु गंभीर रूप से घायल हुए हैं। उन्हें तत्काल हॉस्पिटल में पहुंचा करके उपचार आदि की व्यवस्था उनके लिए की गई है।
Moving on to other business updates, ITC Hotels made its D Street debut, listing at a 31% discount from its implied price of 260 rupees per share. The stock listed at 180 rupees a share after the demerger. However, this was in line with the analyst expectations. Mangalam Malu is here with the details. Mangalam, the listing in line with the analyst estimates.
Well, if you look at the discovered price of the ITC Hotels business, it's close to around 178 odd rupees per share, and which is pretty much in line with what the analysts had expected. Optically, the stock looks a lot lower than the implied value of 260 rupees per share. But remember, the implied value was basically implied by the difference between the stock price opening on the day it went ex-hotel business versus the previous close itself. The underlying assumption was the entire difference was the value of the hotels business, which is not always the case. If you look at, close to around 170 to 180 odd rupees, the stock trades at anywhere between 26 to 28 times FY26 EV to EBITDA, which is fairly in line with what the street was ascribing in terms of a multiple to that business as well. ITC Hotels, for instance, should be positioned as per analysts somewhere between Indian Hotels and Chalet Hotels as well. Chalet Hotels close to around 25 times, Indian Hotels trading at 37 times at a premium to all the other players in the industry because of its leadership position. Put ITC somewhere in the middle, 26 to 28 times, and that gives you the value of close to 170 to 190 rupees, this range in which the stock has been trading, and the price which was discovered in today's trading session itself. The question now, fundamentally, we'll keep an eye out on the hospitality sector, how this business performs. Remember, it's a debt-free company with 1,500 crores of cash. But technically, we'll keep an eye out on the flows around the stock as well, because as per Nuvama Quant, the stock is expected to meet criteria for inclusion in MSCI Global Small Cap Indices. So if and when that notification comes in, there would be some inflows of passive funds. But at the same time, over the next 3 days, we may see outflows from passive funds as well, because remember, because of this technical adjustment of the demerger, the stock is still a part of the Nifty. So it's the 51st Nifty stock. It will be excluded from the Nifty 3 days from now itself. And once that happens for both Nifty and Sensex, there could be potential outflows of $100 million for the Nifty and $65 million for the Sensex as well. So we'll keep an eye out on those parameters here.
Thank you, Mangalam, for that. Moving on, CNBC-TV18 News Break confirmed the Union Cabinet has approved a 16,300 crore rupee mission to develop 24 critical minerals over the next 6 years. Public sector units will invest 18,000 crore rupees separately in the mission. Meanwhile, sugar stocks surged in trade up to 7% in early trade today. This development comes after the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approved the ethanol price hike. The union government has raised the price of ethanol derived from C-heavy molasses to 57.97 rupees a litre from the current 56.5 rupees under the ethanol blended program.
C-heavy molasses, CHM, यानी शुगर केन की जो डिफरेंट प्रोसेस के लेवल्स हैं, उन सब में CHM का उपयोग हो, उसके हिसाब से एक बड़ा फैसला लिया गया है. हम सब जानते हैं कि एथनॉल के उपयोग से देश में इकोनॉमी में बहुत बड़ा एक बेनिफिट हुआ है, और आपने इस स्लाइड पे देखा होगा विन विन विन, 3 बार विन है. किसानों के लिए भी फायदे में है, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज भी बचता है, और एनवायरनमेंट को भी लाभ होता है.
19.9%, 19% is there. Now, if you have a target of 20% by the end of the ethanol blending year, which is October, and you are already in January talking about it based on previous figures, you don't need to have any knowledge of, rocket science or anything to know that you've already reached the 20%.
The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal will hear Nishant Petty's backed Busy Bee plea challenging the Go First liquidation. The plea has sought a stay on liquidation and asked for submitting revised resolution plan for the airline. The company has said that Go First liquidation is against national interest and will lead to higher airfares and fewer consumer choices. The company also blamed the resolution professionals for failing to provide a resolution plan. The Supreme Court has ordered the centre to provide details on the number of FIRs registered against men for pronouncing divorce through triple talaq. The court also questioned the need of a penal law when the practice of divorce by triple talaq had been declared void. The bench was hearing a batch of PILs challenging the law imposed by the centre, which criminalised triple talaq. The two-judge bench will now hear the matter in the week commencing on the 17th of March. IIFL Finance has confirmed that the Income Tax Department launched a search operation at their registered office. The company also said that it's fully cooperating with tax officials. However, did not provide specific details on the alleged violations. This comes a day after CNBC-TV18 reported that IIFL group companies were under the IT department's scanner for alleged tax evasion. The Mumbai International Airport has announced the redevelopment of Terminal 1 at Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport. The project will begin in November and is scheduled to be completed by 2028-29. The capacity of the revamped terminal is expected to increase by 42% annually. All right, it's time for a short break, but coming up next, the Trump administration gives federal workers time till February 6th to make a choice, return to office full-time or resign and get paid till September. More on that when we return. Welcome back. It was a day of recovery on Dalal Street as it saw broad-based buying helping IT gain for the second day. Surbhi Upadhyay is here with the day's trading action. Surbhi, a good day for the bulls.
Well, it was a day of solid pullback, not just in India, but actually around the world. But the good thing for us here was that today it was not a sell the rally kind of a day because the gains were intact and we had a trending up session, so to speak. The net result, the Nifty put on well over 300 points and we have a close above the 23,100 mark. Not just that, why else am I saying that it was a solid day? Because this was a very broad-based recovery. It was visible in the mid-cap index, it was visible in the small-cap index. These indices were up anywhere between 2% to over 3% on the small-cap indices. And it was also a very diverse recovery across sectors. And you'll see that when you look at the nature of the recovery across the sector spread out. Also, the advanced decline ratio was extremely strong. We had a robust ratio after a long time when we had over 2,000 stocks advancing in the market. In terms of sectors, like I'm saying, so realty and IT, of course, were leading the pullback. But energy, financials, PSU stocks, metals, all of these parts of the market were up and about. Actually, it was only the FMCG index which had a tinge of red on it by the end. Otherwise, it was a fully green-looking screen today. Let's talk about the key Nifty movers. So from the financial space, you had Shriram Finance, Bajaj Finance looking up. There was BEL on the upside. Tata Motors was positive ahead of numbers. Infosys, Bajaj Auto, SBI Life, HDFC Life. These were the names on the life insurance side that were doing well. The Bank Nifty itself was higher, a gain of over 2% on the Bank Nifty. So all your large cap banking names were taking this market up today. A lot of good earnings got a very good response from the market. So that also told you that the mood was different. Some examples would be, for instance, in Ami Organics, the Deepak Fertilizers. These are chemical stocks which have anyway been beaten down and the recovery has been very elusive. But the earnings were good and the market was saluting them today. Then you have names like Lee Travenues Tech, Ixigo, which was reacting well to numbers. KPI Tech surged 7-8% after the numbers came out. Likewise, on TVS Motors, there was continued buying, second day running, because the numbers and the commentary looked quite solid. Suzlon, CG Power, I could go on. It's not like there were no earnings misses at all. Yes, we had some red names, JSW Energy, Bosch, Star Health, they were slightly on the lower side. But now it's going to be about the global picture again to see if there's continued stability on Wall Street, particularly on those tech stocks. Of course, we'll come back with the Fed announcement as well tomorrow morning. No change is expected. And for the Nifty, it's going to be very important for this recovery to build and continue. It'll have to take out some, crucial levels going forward. And the next hurdle is going to be around the 200 DMA, which is coming in around the 23,370 mark thereabouts. So slow and steady, but for today, a good day after a long time.
Right, thank you, Surbhi, for that. Tata Motors has reported its numbers for the third quarter. Sudarshan Kumar joins us with the details. Sudarshan, take us through the numbers, please.
So Tata Motors has seen a rebound on a sequential basis, but overall earnings are looking lower than estimates. But on JLR front, company has reported a strong set of earnings. So first, talking about the earnings year on year, consolidated profit is down 23%, while revenue has seen a minor increase of 3%. EBITDA is down 15% and margin has come in at 11.5% versus 13.9%, which is much lower than our estimate of 13.7%. But if you look at sequentially, profit is up 63%, revenue is up 12%, even EBITDA has increased by 12%. Now, on the JLR front, revenue is higher by 1.5%, EBITDA margin has come down by 200 basis points and EBIT margin has come at 9%, which is higher than the company's FY25 guidance of 8.5% or plus, or basically more than 8.5%. Now coming to the outlook on domestic front, company says JLR wholesales are expected to improve further in Q4, but it is remain watchful on the overall demand situation, especially in China. Now on the guidance, company says For JLR, it maintains EBIT margin guidance of 8.5% or more. Also, it says it is on track to achieve its profitability and cash flow targets in FY25. So on the earnings, overall, it's a miss. For JLR, it's a strong, but as far as outlook is concerned, it's looking healthy.
Right, thank you, Sudarshan, for that update. Moving on, the US Fed commenced its two-day policy meet yesterday. This is its first policy meeting in the second term of President Donald Trump. The latest Fed survey by CNBC has highlighted that 65% of the respondents see 2 rate cuts in 2025 and 61% forecast at least 1 cut in 2026. On Trump's tariff threats, 77% of the respondents see it as negative for inflation, while 73% said it's negative for growth. 55% believe Trump's deregulation agenda will reduce inflation, while 68% said it will boost growth. You can catch the entire coverage of the Fed meeting from 11 p.m. onwards right here on CNBC-TV18. US President Donald Trump has invited Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House on the 4th of February. The two leaders are likely to discuss peace in the West Asia region and methods to counter shared adversaries. This trip will make Netanyahu the first foreign leader to visit the White House in Donald Trump's second presidential term. And sticking with the US, the Trump administration has given federal workers time till February 6th to return to office full-time or resign. Workers who choose to resign will receive pay benefits until September. The US government has also made it clear that even employees who choose to stay on may eventually bear the brunt of downsizing. This comes days after Trump's executive order on a return to office mandate. A US federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration's order to freeze aid for several federal grant programs. The stay will last until Monday afternoon and applies only to existing programs. Now, Trump administration officials have said that programs that provide direct assistance to Americans would not be affected. This will include Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, student loans, and food stamps.
A US judge on Tuesday temporarily blocked part of the Trump administration's sweeping directive to pause federal loans, grants and other financial assistance. In a Washington, D.C. federal court hearing, US District Judge Lauren Ali Khan ordered the White House to not block funding to existing programs until February 3rd, a win for advocacy groups who said the policy would be devastating. President Donald Trump's White House ordered billions of dollars of federal grants and loans to be frozen, which could disrupt education and healthcare programs, disaster relief, and other initiatives. Earlier on Tuesday, a coalition of attorneys general announced they would sue Trump's pause of federal funding. 6 states, including New York, Massachusetts, and California, said the lawsuit was meant to preserve essential funding for Americans. Here's California's Rob Banter.
We will not stand by while the president attempts to disrupt vital programs that feed our kids, provide medical care to our families, and support housing in our communities. We won't stand by while the president breaks the law and oversteps his authority as outlined in our Constitution, a Constitution he swore an oath to uphold just 1 week ago.
The acting head of the Office of Management and Budget, which oversees the federal budget, said the money would be put on hold to ensure it aligned with the president's priorities, including executive orders he signed ending diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. New York Attorney General Letitia James said 20 states, including New York, were blocked from Medicaid's payment system, a public health insurance program for low-income people. The White House said Medicaid was exempted and no payments had been affected. Georgetown University law professor Stephen Vladek said the funding halt runs afoul of Congress's legislative control of public funding.
This is a nuclear-tipped broadsword. And to allow this kind of program to go forward would not just have immediate, harsh, deleterious effects on all kinds of segments of society. It would really pretty radically reorient the separation of powers in this country away from the legislature and toward the executive.
Vladek said he expects the administration to walk back the policy or lose in court. The US Justice Department, which would defend the policy in court, did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
Starbucks' quarterly earnings and revenues topped Wall Street estimates. However, its same-store sales fell for the fourth straight quarter. The coffee giant saw same-store sales slip 4% due to a 6% decline in visit to its stores. Remember, the firm had kicked off a turnaround plan last quarter in the hopes of reviving its US business, which has slumped over the past year. Microsoft and OpenAI are investigating whether data from the ChatGPT maker's technology was obtained in an unauthorized manner by a group linked to Chinese artificial intelligence startup DeepSeek. This comes after DeepSeek sparked a tech stock sell-off after investors worried about heightened competition. According to a report by Bloomberg, Microsoft security researchers observed individuals believed to be connected to DeepSeek exfiltrating a large amount of data from OpenAI. Google Maps has said that it will change the name of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America once it's officially updated in the US geographic name system. For those accessing Google Maps in Mexico, the name Gulf of Mexico will appear. Outside of the two countries, users will see both names on Google Maps. The announcement comes days after the Trump administration said that it has officially changed the name of the ocean basin to Gulf of America. And with that's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC-TV18.